Fun fact: crickets have the largest testicles in the animal kingdom, proportionally to their body weight.
Uh, are you serious?
Yep.
When did you find this out?
Um, I just sat down one day, and I just thought to myself, like, who's got the biggest dick? But it pointed me to an it pointed me to an interesting topic about the cricket and how it had like really really big balls. So I couldn't, I don't know, it's just one of those articles that just draws your attention. It was really funny, but it was like bush cricket, and the size of the testicles were actually like a quarter of its body length. I was like, God damn.
The crazy thing is like I didn't know that a lot of people, a lot of pet food and stuff. They don't like to keep crickets because apparently they can eat the animals that the crickets are being fed to, which is crazy.
Wait, what?
So apparently,
Gotta repeat that. What?
cricket will eat anything, and that means which I didn't know. It's like apparently somebody overfed their put a little bit too much gecko in the tank, and apparently they
Too much gecko or too much cricket?
too much crickets.
That's too much gecko in there, man.
Too much crickets in the tank with the geckos, and apparently the gecko had its fill, but then the crickets started eating the gecko,
Yeah,
which I didn't. I was like, what a surprise.
yeah, yeah. It's very possible. It's actually happened
shit.
to one of my pets. I had a bearded dragon, but to be fair, it's because the bearded dragon, it was when I hatched the eggs of a bearded dragon. So there was like a big litter of like 20 something dragons, and this is when I first had them. I didn't know too much about taking care of them. I just know they had to be very well fed, because if not, they become cannibalistic too, because they have to survive. So it was just okay. Well, for me, I'm just like, okay, well, each one eats like maybe 10 crickets a day. So, and some will probably take from the others. So there was like 20 dragons in there in this really big cage. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll just put like,
Whew, that's a lot.
say, enough for 10 each. So it was just 200 crickets in one setting. And then they stockpiled on the crickets. They ate the crickets, but some of them were a little bit timid, or they were kind of like the runts of the batch. So they got stockpiled on by the crickets, and I did find a couple that were just like gone. I was like, oh man. So if it's just, I think it was a mixture, though. I think it was a mixture of the siblings beating up the little one too. So it's sad and unfortunate, but that's the world of animals, And realistically, I couldn't afford to have all the cages and everything running at the time, but the eggs were there. So I was just like, okay, well, next thing to do was to kind of, I didn't want to keep them, so it was just like I had to sell them off. And little did I know is that the males will keep breeding until the female dies. Damn, I'm like,
No, I gotta keep going.
my dragon's a rapist. Yeah, it was just every day. I just saw him going at it. I'm like, damn, dude, you need to calm down. Your nuts are burning. And then the crickets looking at the dragon like, mine's bigger than yours. Get your shit out of here.
Anyways, all right. So my fun fact. Have you ever wondered what space smells like?
No. I've never wondered that.
Well,
That is such a weird thing to think about, considering that when you think about space, there's no air. So whatever you're inhaling is being inhaled back out of you.
So, so the astronauts that go out into space and they come back in, you know, the smell lingers around. So it apparently smells like Korean barbecue. So
No.
no, it smells like seared steak. It smells like seared steak. So I'm going to outer space. It smells like
So,
it smells
so
like Korea.
are you sure? Are you? Are you sure? Like it was not just another astronaut that just farted out there. It's like, yeah, that's what space smells like, man. Don't worry about it. That seems like someone was fucking around with someone else. It's like, yeah, it smells like steak out there.
So apparently it smells like steak.
So, when the astronaut behind him was just like, I had steak last night. I just farted. He just didn't want to tell him. I didn't want to let his dreams down.
So yeah, it kind of makes me think about when I was living in Koreatown. It's like there were like 10 Korean restaurants nearby. Yeah,
You smell
already
Koreatown,
there.
and you're like, I want to go to outer
It's always
space.
there. Which I do miss. So anyways, so what's the
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
topic, Walker?
The topic for today is excuses.
I'm guilty of that.
There have been plenty of times that we've given excuses in our life, and I'm pretty sure that some person, there's not one person in this world that has not given an excuse for something. You know, we do it sometimes, a majority of the time, to avoid things, or just to sometimes
Spare my feelings.
even for a greater good. Maybe it's to also spare someone else's feelings, because, you know, I don't give a fuck about your feelings.
I know if I get invited to
Yeah,
somewhere,
bitch, you never gave a fuck about mine. Why am I?
if I know
Why
who's
do I gotta
going,
do all the
I'm
work?
definitely not showing up. Forget that. No way.
So, one question is, what is the weirdest excuse you've ever heard for something?
I haven't gotten a weird one lately.
Like if even if it was like a get together, or if it was
That's what
like
I'm
a
trying to
date
figure
or
out right
something
now,
like that.
Which are the excuses? A lot of I've given weird ones. No,
Is there
no,
one you
not
can
a bad
remember?
one. I haven't done a bad one. No way. Everything is like. I think everything is more like
Or have you ever given one?
it's like for those who like invite me, they
Like a
know
bad
certain
one.
things about me where I was like, no, shoot, maybe
What do you define as a bad one then?
a bad one is probably
I gotta wash my hair.
Oh, I've given an excuse, an actual excuse, and no one believes me until I was like, oh, sorry, I can't do it. I think it was getting a. So I think it was like getting a flat tire. I know, and I've shown you photos, right?
What is?
I
this
remember.
excuse? So I know what to look out for in the future. Like this bitch lying. You've given me that excuse like 4 times.
I think we went. You were in my car and we went driving, and I promised you I would. I
Yeah.
promise you I'd drop you
No,
off. at the nearest,
well, that's not an
subway
excuse,
station,
really.
right?
That's an actual live event, so
But
it
then
can't
I go back
really
to my
be claimed
car
as an
and,
excuse. I feel like.
The tires are flat. You remember that? Yeah, I remember we bought 2 cans of Fix-A-Flats. We were at a parking lot in the mall. Yeah. Okay, do you remember that? No. So,
No, not the tires.
okay, so I had to call my manager and tell my manager. This is when I was working at the TV station. I had to call my manager, saying, "Hey, I can't
Is
make it. I might be
this,
late. I have a
college?
flat tire." And she didn't believe me.
Okay.
It's like, no, you get here now. So we fixed the
Vaguely,
flat, and
but
then
I
we
might be
dropped you
replacing
to-
that memory with
And I
something
couldn't
else.
take you
But
anywhere,
go
so
on.
you had to stay with me for the whole day at work. Mhm.
Uh-huh.
No, because I had like a time crunch. It was like 30 minutes until the news started, and I had to get to the station as soon as possible, so I couldn't drive you to the place. So you stay the whole day.
I believe I believe something like that could happen though, because then if it, that well for one thing, if something like that were to happen, I definitely would stay with you. Sadly enough, just because of just, mm, yeah, yeah. Well, I genuinely feel bad when I end up leaving a friend when they're in need or in trouble. Even though I can't contribute to the situation myself, it's just I even feel like just being there as moral support actually helps. Because like someone, if something bad happens to someone, they're gonna want to fucking complain. They're gonna be like, "Fuck
Well,
this shit." You know, I
I
fucking
mean,
hate
it's
today.
justified if that
It's
person has like
yeah,
a pattern
I
of
would
like
too.
making excuses all the
You know,
time.
but can you drop me off at the nearest?
So it's like you don't
the
believe in that.
nearest subway? I don't want to hear your shit. No, it yeah, it definitely. It's so weird. You know how you notice how whenever you give when you give a reason to work, they immediately respond to it like it's an
Yeah,
excuse.
it
Like
does
fuck
happen.
that. I don't believe
Sometimes
you're
have to
coming
make things
in.
up, like, I remember making an excuse not going on to this cable access show.
Well, yeah, you know, and sometimes excuses can
Cable
be normal.
access show, local
and
one, and
it's
it's
just the idea of giving a person the benefit of the doubt has gone so
So
has
the thing is like
really
I
just
think
gone out the
for me
window
it was like
at this
I was
point,
in high school and I was running an
because
after
everyone
school
makes
program,
excuses for something.
and I was trying to promote this after school program to get people to come in, and that day comes, but at the time I was like, I had a girlfriend. I was like, you know what, I'd rather hang out with my girlfriend than go to this cable access show, right? But they were looking
Oh,
forward
you're gonna be
to
on a cable access show. Speaking out about having AIDS.
So I had to pay somebody
I believe this.
to go in for me to promote the program. So yeah, so it was like $20. I'm like, go ahead, man. I can't do this right now. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? They had my name in the graphics ready to go and stuff like that. No, they didn't even check. But the thing is, like, I just sent somebody else to do
That's
it.
why
to talk
Cola
about the
is single
program.
today.
Later that day, basically the after school program was it's like all inner city kids. It was just trying to prevent kids from getting in trouble
What?
after school, and that was the
Oh
goal.
my
And
god.
then, it was just educating, exposing
Okay.
a lot
Did
of
they-
young people
did
to
they
a lot of
assume your
different
name?
ideas and a lot of different
Did they assume your name too?
cultures and philosophy and stuff. It's just exposing them to the world and stuff like that. So like there was
Did they have a picture ID
I mean
for
there
you?
was like crazy things where we did
This looks nothing
we
like
did
you.
this whole thing about we got in a lot of
Oh,
trouble
okay.
because we did this whole thing. I think 1 week was all about like sex week.
Can you divulge what
No.
the program was about?
No, but the thing is like I remembered we called somebody at Good Vibrations to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this whole person like come in from Good Vibrations to talk
Ah.
about it, and then they gave this whole thing about sex education and stuff like that. But it was like a pretty like stacked schedule. It was a pretty stacked schedule, and like as the curriculum was pretty well done and well put together, and the instructor was pretty
Interesting.
great. But it was pretty popular. We had to call her in the next following week because the word got out like, oh, they did this and they give out free condoms and lube, and then we should all go. So
Okay. Did everyone have sex?
So yeah, it was really popular, but and then we also gave out free food and stuff like that. So a lot of people showed up for that. So it was really interesting.
All right.
Interesting
Cool.
program. We did one on money management. It was like it's a crazy thing.
Did they
Huh?
introduce?
Yeah, they showed us the whole.
Hmm. Did they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us the whole thing. This is how you do it and stuff like that. But we got in trouble because of parents. Because apparently, like, parents did not like what the kids were learning from this thing, and we got in a lot of trouble because of it. But
Hmm.
I mean, it's run,
Stick a bunch of
run by
condoms
kids for
on a
and for
corkboard.
kids.
Push,
So we did.
push pins.
We even had some parents come
We
in
got
and
you,
sit
man. Yeah.
and they had their own questions about certain things too. So,
Mm.
so it's yeah. They didn't demonstrate it, but it was a lot of fun.
Did they give you a tour
So
of
yeah,
the tools?
I mean, we did. We had topics on like sex,
Did they give
sex
you a
education.
Damn.
We had topics
Hmm,
on dance,
interesting.
music, video
Mm.
production, just something like young people would be interested in. So we just gave these whole workshops. So yeah, this was done in like downtown Oakland, and like nobody wanted to be there. So yeah,
Hmm.
but it's like, so when I went to college,
Hmm.
the program was like, it was immediately shut down. So yeah, but we had a budget. We had a budget of like $200,000 for the whole year.
At least, well, at least they didn't demonstrate. Like, yeah, that's cool. That was my mom. No,
I think it's for the parents. If, I mean, if we can relieve some of that stress from the parents, like
Mm.
parents need like relieve that stress from the parents, it'd be great. But there's like always like the religious component to it. So that
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that is interesting. So, I can see why.
Oh, I heard about this one. Yes,
I can
heard
see
about
why.
this
When
one.
it comes to
Yeah.
anything about sex, everyone's. I don't know how or why it's that awkward to talk about publicly. Yeah, it's definitely for the parents, but it's.
You know what they should do is draw penises on cops and see what happens. Draw it on cops and see if it fixes
Yeah.
anything.
It's
That's
weird
pretty
because
smart. That's pretty smart.
there's such a weird hang up about that, where it was funny when I read about an article
Like parodies.
how there's like this city with a whole bunch of like road problems, potholes and stuff like that. The government did not want to fix them at all, or they were so lax about fixing them until someone actually drew penises over the potholes. Yeah, so it was just, and immediately the government proceeded to fix all the potholes like right afterwards. But there's such a weird hang up and phenomena about just anything to do with sex that it's just so funny. So yeah, it's just that, and it is very smart because it's a quick way to fix everything, but kind of shows how there's the problems there are with like certain ways of thinking, and it was, and I also learned that the other
remember
weird thing too
when-
is just the actual
when I found out that
sizes of our
Vietnam
countries in the
won
world map,
war and that Americans.
where U.S. is
You
actually a
remember
lot smaller,
They didn't teach that in
than
school.
it was
They didn't
originally
mention
portrayed
anything
in
about
schools.
Who won, who lost.
and
It's like, honestly,
it's
you know what,
it's
you're
so
right.
crazy
Vietnam
to
did
me
win.
because I never learned about this. I always thought that every
Because we lost.
size that we were taught in school was what it was, and it turns out like Mexico is a lot bigger, Canada is a lot bigger, and U.S. is actually relatively small compared to the rest of the world. And it's
Yeah,
like,
we won.
wow, man,
Yeah.
it's just so crazy how
So yeah,
we
I mean, like
we
I'm-
kind of
I'm
established
glad
that in our schools,
there's a lot
where
of
it's just like,
re-education
yeah, we're almost
now
as
on
big as
the
everyone else, but it's like, no,
I think
we're
that's
not.
putting in perspective now.
We're definitely not.
I think
And,
state of California is
and
like,
the U.S.
making it
taught school
mandatory
system
for all the, I think,
places
state
US
colleges to teach ethnic
more at
studies
the center
to
of the
everyone,
world when it actually
which I think is great.
is not. Too.
I think it's a good.
I thought that
I
was
think it's
kind of
good.
interesting, and it's just it kind of puts into that perspective
We should have done
just
that a long
like
time ago.
that inadequacy complex that is placed on our culture. So yeah. We barely discussed like Vietnam War. It's just like it happened. Yeah, it's like it happened. All right, like move on. And it's like okay, cool, you know. And then like my dad and my parents told me about like a lot of history, and they're just like, yeah, we lost. And I was just like, oh, well,
I'm not surprised. Those are things that, the closet racists are coming out. No.
mm, mm.
It's
Yeah, it's definitely a great thing. It's just kind of sad too.
I mean,
'cause
I've known about it for a long time actually.
it seems
It's like
the
it's like
state of California
it's like
is so
underhand
progressive.
race,
But at the same time,
indirect
now we're
racism. It's
surpassing
Like, oh, it happens so
we're
much.
surpassing
Like some
New
of us-
York in terms of COVID cases.
Yeah, it's that
and
stuff.
it's
It's
just-
that stuff.
So many things are just kind of done a bit irresponsibly.
It's that stuff. It's like
But it's and not only that, we're getting a lot of the whole like outbursts of Karens and whatnot over here too, and it's kind of sad because I feel like we're supposed to
Told
be
you about it?
California's supposed to definitely be one of the more educated states, to where things like that shouldn't really happen, but they do still, and it's kind of sad to see the alarming rate and number there are here. But
I mean, if you ever work in like a traditional office setting, it's there. It's always there. It's always there. I'm like, man,
and yeah, there's
it's like
I've
when
also learned of polite
plays a lot-
racism.
it
and I
plays
was
a
like,
part
that's a
where it's
thing.
like
But I guess once you
promotions,
tag it
who
with
gets
something,
promoted,
with some association, then it just
favoritism,
becomes what it is.
who gets invited to the meetings,
Yeah.
who gets certain tasks, and the other person gets, this task and stuff like that. So yeah, who gets overlooked for promotions and stuff like that? Who's get promoted because of this? Yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot of that. I'm not racist, but kind of thing. And it's you hear it, and you don't really associate with anything until someone coins a term, too, and it's like crap. Microaggressions. That was not a thing to me until someone actually gave it a term and a meaning, and it's just microaggression, micro invalidation. I'm just like, are you serious? There's just so much, and although some of it is valid, it's just some people take that to such an extreme that it just loses its actual meaning or intention too. Oh yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
No, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna have to roll
Yeah.
up. And
I mean,
she's like, oh, you're
I
here so
remember-
quickly. Yeah, because I had to fix my tire pretty quickly and get this going. So yeah. I mean, my car didn't have a spare tire. It was just.
yeah, I remember being a part of both of those circles, and it's just.
I think I took it out for weight
when I
purposes.
stepped away from that position, where it's just like, yeah, like you're included in all the business meetings and stuff, I think I felt more of a sense of relief, because the more meetings I attended, the more asinine
all my cars,
everything
all my
kind
cars.
of felt, because there would literally be hour-long discussions about the most ridiculous things that you'll waste your time on. It's like, well, how many coffee filters should we order for the break room? And it's just like, we're spending an hour on this, and this is not something I would want to spend my time on. But it's just also it's also being in that comfortable position of where, like when you're higher up, you get to have meetings about something this dumb, and you get paid for it. But I mean, it just never really felt all that progressive, and it's just like, it kind of led to feeling like you're dying inside, kind of thing. But so that was so you gave that excuse though for your flat tire, and your work didn't believe you. So then what? Did you have to present them with proof?
Which is a good.
Did you have to roll up? Did you have to roll up on just bare rims?
All this stuff with the one car instead of both cars. Yeah, just to practice and learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I've been with Cola romantically. No,
fixing it on the side of the road. You get call.
So I've been friends with Cola for a really long time, like over a decade. And whenever I sat into a car with him, there has not gone more than 2 months without some problem happening to the car. There was even one time where we just sat in the car with him on the freeway,
okay,
and then
hey man, I don't have gas in the
differentiator on his car went out, like on the road, and he's just like, oh god, like something happened. We were just like, what? And he's just like, oh, my car's like there's something wrong with my car. And we're just like, well, it feels fine to me. And then
I hear
Cole
from
will be like,
other people.
well, no, there's definitely something wrong. And something was wrong. You definitely feel different as a driver than you are as a passenger.
I don't remember any bad excuses. But, maybe I should start writing them now.
It was just, it seems like every other month there was always something. If it was either something happened to the car or someone broke into the car. Someone broke into the car to steal the change from his the change from his like cigarette like ashtray or whatever. But it's definitely better to have an older car, a used and beat up car, because one, you won't be sorry about
maybe it's the one that
any parts that have to be replaced.
That goes on top of the stove,
and
above the stove.
If something happens to it, it can easily be fixed, as opposed to today's cars. Because today's cars, my god, you have to call for a specialist, and you are spending a couple $1,000s to fix a sensor, and especially with electric cars, you're not getting away with a cheap estimate. That's for sure. But every time something happened to Cola's car, I believe them. It's just so funny. Yeah. But can you drop me off at the nearest subway station? Yeah. So have you ever heard any dumb excuses? Oh, okay. You heard from me too? You heard bad excuses from me too? Oh. This motherfucker. The funniest excuse I've heard about not being able to hang out is the excuse was I was trying to ask we were trying to ask a friend to hang out, and she says, no, I can't hang out today because I'm installing a microwave. We're like just sitting there wondering, like, install a microwave? Don't you just have to plug it in?
It's like the worst case scenario for it. No, it's good. It's good.
But
it's good.
It was just one of the weirdest things. It's just I don't. Even so, it's just a microwave that you pull out.
We'll
And-
get another
but
one. Yeah, yeah.
It's still a microwave. It's just the only thing about it is that it fits. It's a size that's designed to fit into that little crevice above the stove. That's it. You can literally put another microwave there, or you can put like a small microwave there, and it'll still be the same thing. This kind of harkens back to a story of when my wife and I first lived together, and it was at it was at her uncle's place. It was so funny. It was literally one of those sitcom moments. So when we first moved into so we were trying to find a place to live, and we found a place that her uncle was renting out. So we're just like, okay, cool, and he was giving us a discount to stay there. We was like, okay.